Hi everyone, my name is Yasmin Sanchez, and today I'm going to talk about two critical things every BCBA should understand about typical child development: how peers shape identity through social learning, and why teens take risks based on cognitive development. This presentation will cover two major areas of adolescent development. First, how adolescents form their identity through peer interactions grounded in social learning theory. Second, why adolescents are more prone to risky behavior explained through Piaget's theory and brain development. Both are supported by empirical research and directly applicable to our work as BCBAs. Here's the first infographic: how peers shape identity, social learning in adolescent. Let's break it down section by section. At the top left, we introduce social learning theory, which explains that people learn by watching others and imitating what they see, especially when those behaviors are reinforced. On the right side illustrates peer modeling, how adolescents tend to copy the behaviors, language, and values of peers they admire or see rewarded. And at the bottom left, we connect this learning to identity development. As teens observe and imitate peers, they begin to internalize those values and form their own self-concept. This is influenced by identity styles, which determine how they process and act on peer input. The first study is by Brown and Larson. They observed how peer relationships during adolescence provide opportunities for self-exploration. Their methods involve structured interviews and observation of adolescent peer groups. They found that peer interactions serve as role models, shaping behavior and values. This supports the idea that adolescents learn and form identity through social modeling. Berzofsky, which is the second study I used, studied identity styles in high school students. He used surveys to categorize students' coping and identity processing strategies. His findings showed that peer influence plays a strong role in how teens handle stress and form their self-concept. This reinforces the concept that social learning directly affects identity development. Now let's look at the second infographic: why teens take risk, brain growth, and decision making. The first section on the left side describes Piaget's formal operational stage, which begins around age 12. In this stage, adolescents gain the ability to think abstractly and hypothetically, but this doesn't mean that they always make wise choices. The second section to the right highlights the brain mismatch. The emotional brain, which is the limbic system, develops much earlier than the rational brain, which is the prefrontal cortex. This creates an imbalance. Teens can reason logically, but their decisions are still strongly influenced by emotion and rewards. And the final section, risk-taking in action, explains that this imbalance often results in risk-taking behavior. Teens prioritize social approval and instant gratification, sometimes ignoring long-term consequences. Steinberg used fMRI studies with adolescents and young adults to explain brain activity during risk-related decision making. He found that teens have increased activation in the brain's reward centers, but less in the prefrontal cortex responsible for impulse control. This imbalance explains the increase in risky behaviors during adolescence. Krohn and Dahl conducted behavioral and neural studies with adolescents. They focused on how teens respond to immediate versus delayed rewards. Their findings showed that teens prioritize social rewards and goals, even when risky. This supports the idea that risk-taking isn't just impulsive, it's also socially driven and developmentally normal. Why I chose these things. I chose these two topics because they are highly relevant in adolescent development and applied to behavior analysis. Peer influence is one of the strongest environmental factors affecting behavior, and risk-taking is a common area of concern for caregivers and educators. Understanding both gives me better insight into what behaviors are typical and how to support clients more effectively. Application to BCBA practice. Knowing this helps in multiple ways. It informs that what we consider age-appropriate behavior, helps us understand the why behind certain actions, and allows us to develop interventions that are supportive rather than punitive. For example, if we know a teen is acting out to gain peer approval, we can teach alternative ways to access the same reinforcement without risky behaviors. Here are the references I used. These studies provide the empirical backing for both topics discussed today. Thank you for listening.